The old school dungeon crawling RPG series, Etrian Odyssey, is a franchise I've never really dove into throughout my years of gaming, and matter of fact, the series is actually not that old with it debuting on the Nintendo DS. Still, it wasn't until recently, with the release of Etrian Mystery Dungeon, did I dip my toes into the franchise, and I had a blast doing so. But even then, it technically wasn't a true Etrian Odyssey game, since it was actually a crossover with the Mystery Dungeon series. That changes now though, because I can safely say I have indeed experienced a full-blown Etrian Odyssey game with Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold, the Fafnir Knight. This is essentially a remake of the 2008 DS game Etrian Odyssey 2 Heroes of Leigard, but with some substantial new bells and whistles. For one, there's Classic Mode, where you'll get to play the original Etrian Odyssey 2 but with new dungeon layouts, new graphics, and system improvements. But the big addition to Untold that is really the force driving this game is the brand new Story Mode, which features a fixed party, voice dialogue, and animated cutscenes, as you learn about the mystery of the Fafnir Knight. What's a Fafnir Knight? Well, you gotta play the game to find out, you dingus. In terms of the story, it's actually not half bad. You're left in the dark with regards to many of the elements of the plot, and the veil will slowly be lifted as you journey through the Yggdrasil tree. The game also has a strong focus on characters with plenty of dialogue and banter between the band of 5 heroes, to flesh out their differing personalities and backstories. In my own personal experience, I found them to be a bit too chatty at times. For example, when you go to the restaurant and cook up a new piece of food to give your team stat buffs, they just go on and blab about the food, and it's times like that where I just mash the A button to get through it because it didn't have an integral part to the story. The game does have a few twists and turns to keep the player engaged, and overall, I enjoyed the story for what it was. It gives you a purpose for exploring the dungeons, and makes you curious on how events will unfold as things move forward, but it's really the gameplay of Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold that makes it shine. At its core, Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold is an excellent first-person dungeon crawling RPG, as you scour through dozens of maze-like floors of the Yggdrasil Labyrinth and multiple levels of the ruins of Ginnungagap. Yeah, that one. The game has a very set structure. You'll go into the labyrinth, make progress, battle monsters, collect materials and ingredients, and then head back to town to rest up, sell the goods you collected, buy new weapons and armor, and then head right back into the labyrinth. Rinse and repeat. It sounds like it would get very repetitive after so many cycles, but it really doesn't. You are constantly unlocking new gear to purchase, and each dungeon of the Yggdrasil Labyrinth introduces new monsters and environmental puzzles to keep things fresh. The Fafnir Knight also follows in the footsteps of traditional turn-based battles, and they are deep enough where you won't be rapidly tapping the A button the whole time, but not too convoluted where it will be overbearing. Each of the 13 class types has unique stats and an expansive skill tree. By using skill points from leveling up, you can learn new attacks and spells, or strengthen ones you've already unlocked, and it really adds a lot of customization to cater to your fighting style. Each class even has a unique force move that takes time to charge up that can change the tide of battle by protecting your team or delivering a large amount of pain to the enemy. Using them at just the right time can be crucial, especially when it comes to the bosses because they can be tough as nails. Harkening back to the old pen and paper RPGs, cartography and exploration plays a major part in making Etrian Odyssey Etrian Odyssey. With the stylus in hand, the game encourages the player to draw out their own map on the touchscreen of each and every floor of the labyrinth with a set of cartography tools. From walls, secret passages, mining spots, and even enemy movements, you can get insanely specific with your maps. It's pretty satisfying going from a blank slate to a beautiful complete map. Having a well-drawn map is really important though if you want to make the journey easygoing, as you will at times want to go back to previously explored floors, such as when doing side quests. Plus, once you map out a good percentage of a floor jump ability will be unlocked that will allow you to jump directly to the staircase of that floor, and it's super duper useful as it saves mounds upon mounds of precious time. If it wasn't for the floor jumps, the game would be loaded down with so much backtracking that it would be the most tedious thing ever. Thankfully, it's not like that. If it was though, my 3DS would be kissing the wall. I have one huge tip though. Having to stop every few steps to draw on the touchscreen will get old fast. So, thankfully, the game includes a feature in the options where you can have the game automatically fill out the map for you. Cleverly, the game doesn't overdo it and ruin the experience, as it only draws the walls and floor panels. The more finer details are left up to you. Just having the map drawing set to auto speeds the game up drastically and makes the adventure so much more pleasant. I highly recommend you do that. It will make the game 10 times better. Along with cartography, the Etrian Odyssey series is known for its guild customization and being able to assemble your own team out of various different classes, and in this iteration there are 13 different classes. But because the story mode actually has a storyline with distinct distinct characters with their own personalities, your band of misfits and their classes are fixed. That might seem a bit restrictive, which it kind of is since you're missing a piece of the experience, but the classes that are forced upon you create a well-rounded team with diverse movesets. Nevertheless, once you hit level 30, you can switch the classes of your characters. But you're already halfway through the game and have learned to master the classes you were given, so you don't have much desire to change them. Plus, the character will lose 5 levels if you change their class, thus making them weaker and having to grind for experience to bring them back up to speed, and that's not exactly fun. I already found myself having to grind more than once through my playthrough because this game is no cakewalk, and that's enough grinding for me. But alas, you don't have to do story mode, you can just do classic mode and then you have free reign with all the classes. Now, another update from the original Etrian Odyssey 2 are the Grimoire Stones. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but it felt like the game didn't do that good of a job explaining their purpose. Nevertheless, randomly during battles, you will earn these items called Grimoire Stones, and you'll earn tons and tons of these things throughout your playthrough. I'm pretty sure I had over 500 of them, not even joking. Basically what they do is act as buffs, and you can attach them to individual teammates to improve specific skills or even teach them skills that they couldn't learn otherwise. All the stones have levels, and the higher the level, the stronger it is, and they definitely come in handy. For example, let's say you max out your character's Flame Saber skill. Well, there's a Flame Saber Grimoire Stone, so giving your character that Grimoire will make the power of the Flame Saber skill exceed its limit. Useful? Definitely. And it's also fun constantly earning new grimoires, as they are like little treasures and you're keeping on the lookout for the uber powerful ones. With the plethora of weapons and armor, the extensive skill trees for each character, and also grimoire stones, Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold offers a great amount of customization without being too overbearing. In the graphical department, the Fafnir Knight is really well done, with fantastic character portraits and an overwhelming amount of enemies. Seriously, there's no complaining about the enemy design here. There is such a huge variety, and while there are a few palette swaps here and there, they are mostly original designs, and that is super awesome. Plus, they are well animated during battle, making the fights more natural and alive. The environments, on the other hand, are also diverse, as no two look the same, whether you're spelunking through a beautiful green forest, an icy tundra, or a Japanese-type setting surrounded by blooming cherry blossoms. I don't know if it was just me, but the quality of the environments did seem to dip a tiny bit when turning the 3D effect on, but it's really not something that you will notice. But now that I mention it, you might notice. Atlus is boasting that the story mode includes new animated cutscenes, but they are probably not what you were expecting. If you consider making eyeballs blink an animated cutscene, then dear me, I don't know what I was expecting. Yes, they're literally static images with blinking eyeballs. That's it. No. 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 No, 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 no. Disappointing? Extremely. It would have been awesome to have some of the major plot points play out in more cinematic style cutscenes like an anime, but alas, that doesn't happen. Now, when it comes to an RPG, they usually have a really awesome soundtrack, and the Fafnir Knight does not disappoint, especially the rockin' battle themes that ramp up the intensity. The more orchestral-like soundtrack is very good. But if you want a nostalgia trip, Atlus was generous enough to include the FM synth background music from the original Etrian Odyssey 2 on the DS. You can quickly switch back and forth between them at any given time by opening the options and flipping a switch. It's quite convenient. On the other hand, the voice acting isn't half bad, and it takes more of a Fire Emblem Awakening approach. Characters have their trademark grunts and phrases that they'll throw out here and there, and at key moments there will be voice dialogue. I do like that when you enter a battle, one of your teammates will sometimes give you a heads up on what the enemy is weak to. Also, when you're exploring and are a few steps away from entering a battle, a teammate will let you know that there's an enemy nearby. They're just nice little audio touches. Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold is a game that you can sink a lot of hours into. It took me around 50 hours to beat the story mode, and there's even more to do after that if you're up for it. For one, you can go back and play the adventure in classic mode. Or if the game wasn't hard enough already, you can also ramp up the difficulty by starting a new game plus. With the great variety of class types available to choose from, you can have a totally different gameplay experience the second time around. As an RPG, it definitely feels like an RPG when it comes to the amount of hours you can pack away. Atlus does have a tendency to charge more money for their games, and the Fafnir Knight is no different. Rather than being listed with a normal $40 price tag like most 3DS games, Atlus is bumping it up $10 more to $50. You could argue that the lengthy playtime justifies the price tag, but there are other RPGs on the system that don't charge that much, so it's not really a good excuse. Overall, if you are an RPG lover, Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold: The Fafnir Knight is definitely a winner. There's a nice variety of dungeons to spelunk through, each with their own unique mechanics that make them all memorable. The turn-based combat is solid and strategic, with a wealth of different skills for each class. The cartography aspect is something a bit different, and it feels great exploring every nook and cranny and having a robust map to show for it. While the original Etrian Odyssey games may have catered more towards the hardcore RPG fans, the Fafnir Knight really streamlines things, making it more bearable and inviting for novice players. Don't get me wrong though, this game could be downright brutal. So in all, I think Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold: The Fafnir Knight is an amazing game. That $50 has really gotta go though. If it was me, I would just wait for a sale since Atlas is pretty good with regular discounts on the eShop. Or if you just can't stand it, you can pony up the extra dough and get the game when it comes out on August 4th. It's totally up to you, brah. And that will bring us to the end of this review. And if you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up and add your favorites and all that good stuff, and you can stay tuned for more videos in the future. But I will talk to you later in the next video, guys. Bye!